Good morning, I am Bobby J. Welcome back to the channel, and today we're talking about spray rigs, the full setup, the full rundown, everything from the truck that's pulling everything to the trailers, to the tanks, the valving, the pumps, and last but not least, the spray rigs themselves. All three of them and their different setups and the specs of them. Let's go do it. So I have three main spray rigs basically for our operations, and this is the main setup. I would say this is probably I spend the most time on the road with, and this is this trailer combined with either this truck or my 22, pulling that little utility trailer back there with my HAV 300. So going through it here, we've got the 2004 Dodge Ram 3500, 6-speed Cummins, you know, the whole get up. And then also my other one that I use a lot would be my new one, my 22 3500 Ram chassis cab. Next up is the trailer itself. This is a trailer my dad built about 40 years ago. I've done a lot of work. I just recently got done rewiring it completely from the front to the back. Fantastic trailer. 3 7,000-pound axles. This is your standard flatbed trailer. Nothing fancy on that, but your standard issue flatbed. And what I did is I needed a nurse trailer. I needed and a nurse trailer, if you're new to spraying and what this is, a nurse trailer is the trailer that has the water on it and possibly your chemicals, but the main thing is that's where you get the water from, is from that trailer. So instead of building a trailer that was completely dedicated, with this setup, I built this skid, and this skid can come on and off. And what we've got going on here are 3 tanks. And we've got the main tank there, which is 1,025 Rotoplas. That's where I hold the water. No chemicals go in there, nothing other than water. Next is a pair of 125s. These tanks have 2 different purposes, which that one does store water a lot. But when I am spraying for weeds, that tank becomes the UN32 tank. I use a lot of UN32. It's my secret weapon to make your weed killers much more effective in getting into the plant. So that tank will hold my UN32. This tank over here is my mix tank. I mix all my chemicals in this tank. And my valving. Next is my valving. Here's I've got, let's see if we get in here, suction and pressure. So left side is suction, right side is pressure. You know, essentially your pump is the same thing. You've got one suck side and one pressure side. And what I've done is created a manifold here where I've got 4 suctions and 4 pressures. So what this allows me to do, like right now, the very bottom one is open, which says water. So I can pull from the 1,025, and then I can discharge it in any 4 locations. I can send it to the mix tank. I can send it to, I labeled it as a fertilizer tank because that tank has fertilizer in it more often than anything else. Out, that is to go straight out to feed the spray rig. and water. Back if I want to go back to water. Same thing on the suction side, it mirrors that. Other than instead of out, we've got in, because we can pull from any other outside source, be it pulling out of a pond or a stationary tank or whatnot. So that is that's my manifold and valving setup. And I got just the same thing here, your standard issue Honda. So now on chemical storage, again, like I said, that tank there is mostly holds UN32. Sometimes it holds water depending on what we're doing. But the other thing it also does is my 440 spray oils. When we're spraying trees in the summertime and we mix in water soluble oil, that will hold my my oils and stuff. So like I said, dual purpose there. That's why I have these 3 tanks, is that I have a lot of versatility here too. Of course, any of them can be water storage if need be, but being able to hold certain products, being able to mix. Mixing is important. Going back to the mixing just real fast, the whole point behind the mixing tank, if you don't, many of you guys that are farmers and stuff, and I'm preaching to the choir, but your mix tank allows you to mix. If you got a 2-man crew, the guy, the spray rig operator, he's out in the field. The guy that's here at the mixing station is mixing up the next batch for the next tank. So when the spray rig comes in, you're not dinking around with trying to read the rec and trying to read the beaker. Do I got 34? I need 32 ounce. Oh, I've got 36. I got to pour a little back into the jug. No, that's all wasting time. When you're in a hurry, that that'll be time for that. Is 2-inch pump into the spray rig, pump the concentrate in, and then top her off with water. So that's an important and integral part of our spraying operation. How we can cover ground fast is keeping the spray rig spraying. It's not the mix rig. It's not the park it by the trailer rig. It's the spray rig. Keep it spraying. So this is downtime. When it comes in empty and heads back out full, that's downtime. So that helps to really minimize that when you already got your batch. And it also allows for less mistakes. When that spray rig's out there for 20 to 40 to an hour, depending on which rig it is, I have plenty of time to read the rack, to make sure I'm measuring my products correctly, all that jazz. I got plenty of time to make sure I'm doing it right. So that it limits then, when you know that you're in a hurry because the spray rig is no longer spraying, it limits the mistake factor. You just hook up the hose, it's already in there, you shoot that concentrate in, and bam, you top her off with water, spray rig's back into the field going. Okay, swinging back over here to chemicals. So this is my chemical storage on the trailer, and pretty darn simple, real high tech here. It's a square that's big enough for a pallet. How about that? So really easy to unload and load pallets. Now, because I use the same nurse trailer for 3 different spray application setups, it's imperative to keep my products separate from one another from each application. So my way of doing this for organization is I have 3 pallets. I have got weed spray in the orchard pallet. I've got tree spray pallet with all the fungicides and foliar applications. And then the 3rd pallet would be the rice weed spray setup. And I can just quickly with the forklift change them out from one to the next when I go from one rig to the other. Now, right here where I'm standing, this is my workstation because I am the mix boy normally. I mean, I do run, well, I'm kind of, but when we're spraying trees specifically, and the tree rig is what there is a lot of volume of mixing for, I am generally the mix boy. And so this is my station. This is where I'm working, is right here. So, I've got my chemicals, I've got my pump, my valving, bam, bam, bam. I'm back and forth right here to mix everything up. And it's a pretty effective setup. Now, the other thing is we do a lot of spraying at night. During the early spring, when we're doing a lot of spraying in the almonds, we have to spray at nighttime because we need to spray while the bees are in the boxes and not out flying around in the trees and getting hit with fungicides. So we work a lot of nights. So lighting is important on this rig. Got to have good lighting so that I can read labels. You know, things are lit up well so the tractor driver doesn't hit the rig in any way, shape, or form. And just in general, we got good lighting to be able to work around. So this is my setup on both of my trucks. I run good light bars that have lots of lights in them. And then I've got this set up on a switch, these two lights, so that when I finish mixing, tractor's out in the field and spraying, I've kind of got things wrapped up right here. I need to, you know, I can go sit in the pickup or whatever where it's warm. I can just turn them on and off. So that's the nighttime setup. Moving down the line, I've got my rubber stubbers right here. Real simple yet effective. I start lining my 2.5 gallon jugs on that rubber stubber to store the empties, and they stay right there. No issues there. Now, this is the setup here. This that is a 17-foot trailer. My dad also built this one. Probably said it was about 2 or 3 years after he built this one. So this one was built in about 84, 85. This one was 86, 87, somewhere in there. Pretty simple setup. We've got a pair of 3,500 pound Dexters, and I added about 10, 12 years ago, I added the ramps. Because it didn't have a ramp system on it, and for what he was doing back in his welding business decades ago, he wasn't necessarily hauling stuff like this. He'd be hauling steel or a portable welder or stuff like that. So ramps weren't so important. And then for me, in our operation in the farming, it turned into a light equipment trailer. So yeah, ramps had to be built, and so that's what we got going on there. LED lights all the way around. Now, moving on to the spray rig. Now this setup here, this is the only one where we have this particular setup. This is for spraying the weeds on the floor of the orchards. And this is a PBM HAV 300. Now this little guy, like I said, is a PBM HAV 300. PBM Manufacturing is the one that builds these. I believe their main headquarters are out of Chico, California, and they specialize in spraying. This is what they do. So this is a specific vehicle for orchards. I mean, you could use it in open field. There is boom extensions available for these rigs, but with it being low profile and everything, it is set up for orchard spraying. This is a 2001. It's a slightly older one. Some of the newer ones are pretty cool. They've got air ride. This has spring suspension, but there are many like it, but this one is mine, as the saying goes. So it has a Kubota 4-cylinder V1505, if I remember the model. Don't quote me on that. And I think it's around 35 horsepower. It's got a hydrostatic drive, and what's kind of interesting and cool about it is you got a hydrostatic pump hanging off the back of the bell housing, and then you've got a hydrostatic motor that is bolted onto the front of the differential and slips onto the splines onto the pinion shaft there, and that is a Dana 44 with I think a 373 rear end. So pretty simple. Now I did quite a bit of work to this one. I pulled the motor out of it, I resealed the engine, put a new governor in it, went through the hydrostat. It has about 5,600 hours on it. I got a pretty good deal on it. But yeah, went through the hydrostat and did quite a bit of work. That made a big difference, man. But did a little bit of customizing. When I had the thing all torn apart, it needed paint anyway, so I did a custom paint job on it with paint I had left over on the shelf. And I had a set of Hellcat center lines, so I threw them on. And can't say, looks pretty good, I think. Only HAV 300 rig in the state of California that's got aluminum wheels on it, and Super Swampers. Don't forget the Super Swampers. I picked those up used for a really good deal and nice and fresh. and they hook up. I've been in some slippery situations where I barely made it through. So yeah, 3-section boom. Obviously these come out, swing out, and then you've got your tail section on the back right here. I'm running 08 nozzles, T-jets with air injection for less drift. And that pretty much covers it, I guess. Raven 440 control unit. So, excuse me, running a ground speed sensor on the wheel to pick up speed to adjust rate. AC's got full AC. It works really, really well. And yeah, it's a good little rig. It's one of my favorite jobs actually on the farm is running this little sucker. Okay, so now here's my second trailer that I pull, and I'll switch between these two here. When I'm spraying orchard weeds, you know, this is the setup right here that I hook up behind the 3-axle. If we're doing tree spraying and I need to have a lot of water to some of the orchards where I don't have a good water supply and all of the water has to be hauled out there, that's where this little guy comes in. I hook up this little tilt deck and I lock the tilt in place, and it's a 525, so we're not talking a lot of water, but it's enough water where it makes 4.5 full tanks with the sprayer, and that's a decent night actually. And this is a 7,000 pound axle underneath here, so no issues on the weight. And this is a 5.5 horsepower injector setup. This is not just like a standard, you know, 2-inch pump or whatever. This is an actual injector, because this can be utilized as a fertilizer injector during the summer months during irrigation season. But for spraying, for spray season, that sucker, although it doesn't move water like a comparable, you know, semi-trash pump, it does move water plenty fast to transfer it from this 525 into the back of the 1025 right there via the 2-inch bulkhead there. It takes about 15-20 minutes, and it'll move that 525 right into this tank as I pull this one down. And here's that setup in action. When I need to haul a lot of water, this setup works really well for me, and I'm able to get a lot of water moved in a short amount of time in one trip. And the next spray rig setup is the orchard sprayer, and this is used to blast both water and air. There's a big fan in the sprayer. Blast the trees with water and air to apply foliar feeds, fungicides, and bug sprays to keep out insects that are unwanted. I'm using a Progressive Ag 400-gallon Electroblast sprayer, and it's hooked up to a 2018 Case IH 120C Farmall tractor with a special safety cab orchard setup with the limb lifter bars, and this thing is bomb-proof. This is a great tractor, and it works really well in the orchard. And I'm pretty sure the glass and steel in that cab could withstand a small nuclear blast. That is a 117 horsepower tractor. Now this whole setup here, this is a 2-rig setup. No more just me trying to get everything on one truck and one rig. Both the nurse trailer has to roll and the 30-foot goose to haul the orchard spray rigs. And this is actually the very first attempt to load the third spray rig setup onto our custom built trailer that we had just finished. It wasn't even painted yet, to haul a very unique, the most unique spray rig setup that we have, which is this is a New Holland T5060 four-wheel drive tractor. It's 105 horsepower. Set up for rice spraying with big, tall, skinny steel wheels to slice through the mud and grab on right through the water, right through the mud, and just grab on with either down to hard pan, or because the wheels are shaped like a wedge, they can kind of go down and only sink so far until the side paddles kind of grab on. And here it is unloading for the first time. Now, this was about 3 or 4 years ago, and since the trailer's been completely finished, painted, all that, we have moved this rig countless times, and it's worked out great. We can really pick up and move fast. Now, this tractor has a Top Air 60-foot Fold X boom on it. That boom has been fantastic and awesome. Our old setup, we'd have to fold it in and out every time. 200-gallon tank on the front, a PTO-driven Hi-Pro pump, same Raven 440 control system with GPS inside the cab. This tractor works really well for spraying rice. It's compact, it's easy to move, it's not real heavy. This whole getup is about 13 or 14,000 pounds. And we can move from one field to the next and get it done. I run 04 T-Jet air-injected nozzles on this rig, and my rate that I usually use is about 20 gallons to the acre, which gives me about 10 acres to a tank. Now, I feel like it would be a disservice to not mention the Kubota RTV 1100. This is a custom rig that we put together a long time ago, and we were doing a certain style of spray application when the ground is dry. And this is an RTV 1100 that I turboed because 26 horsepower was not enough to get it done, with a set of mat tracks all the way around, pulling a 200-gallon PBM trailer sprayer, and I sprayed thousands of acres in that little Kubota. If you enjoyed this video or you found it informative, please hit that like button, and most importantly, please subscribe. Let's keep this channel going. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.